Okay, so we might get a couple more people joining us as we go along, so we'll just let those in. My colleague Kate can hopefully help with that, but we can just probably start just now, if that's okay with everybody. So we have started having our webinars as a meeting format, so you can see everybody on screen. It's a bit less hierarchical than it was before. We can just see the speakers. So yes, the topic today, I think, is something really important for many social enterprises. And I think it's about kind of social enterprises really having strong foundations for their organization and really just trying to get the right infrastructure in place. I think it's part of that kind of angle. And quite a practical webinar today as well. So some of our webinars are kind of policy related, some are very practical. So it's quite a practical one today. So we've got 45 minutes. We'll have plenty of time for questions at the end as well. But I will just introduce our speakers just now. So we've got Niall McCaffrey, who's from Proactivity, and Katie Skelton of Inspire Wellbeing, who will be speaking today. So without further ado, I will hand over to Niall just now.
Great. Duncan, thanks very much. And thanks to Social Enterprise Scotland for having me. Hopefully you're filled with excitement and trepidation for the exciting content that we're going to deliver to you. So just by way of introduction, Katie Skelton is with Inspire. Inspire are a customer of ours. They're both a charity and a social enterprise. So I'll talk to you in terms of just the, I suppose, global level, the value that a CRM can bring to your organization. And then Katie will talk to us about real life utilization of CRM and the value that it actually does bring and how they use CRM within the organization. I reckon probably with 30 minutes, no more than that, we'll probably cover off most of the content, and then we can hand it over to yourselves for as many questions as you want. So what are we going to look at today? Can everybody see my presentation? Yeah, super. Really what we're doing here is looking at how CRM can add value to your organization. As a CRM solutions vendor, we deliver CRM solutions into a huge number of not-for-profit organizations, so charity organizations, youth sector, faith sector organizations, and social enterprises. So that's really a core, and educational establishments as well. That's really a core in terms of what we work with. And consistently, the key drivers or values that CRM brings to organizations tend to fall into one of these 5 areas. So the first one is around customer insight, in terms of being able to understand both who your customers are, what engagement they are giving and getting, but also then just from a management and control and reporting perspective, that you have top level visibility in terms of that customer insight. The second element is what we call the single version of the truth. That's technical IT language, but it really talks about where is all your data stored and who has the latest copy or the most up-to-date record relevant for either the volunteer, whatever stakeholder, the client that's in receipt of the service, doesn't really matter. Where is that up-to-date information stored and how can I access that? So that's the second driver. Third driver is really all about the stakeholder engagement, making sure that all your stakeholders, be they volunteers, be they staff, be they funders, be they volunteers, be they recipients of your services, that they're properly engaged with the organization, and that you have some way of measuring that engagement and hopefully reporting on it so that you're able to convey the value that your organization is bringing. The fourth element is around productivity and organizational gains. So this is all about how CRM can add value to me as an individual within the organization. Hopefully reducing maybe administration, or fundamentally enabling me to do more in less time. Okay, so I'm more effective in my role. I'm able to do more and have greater value. And the final one really is that wonderful word about compliance. okay, in this world of GDPR compliance, in corporate governance, and so on. So those are really the 5 key areas that we're going to look at briefly. And supporting that, then Katie from Inspire will just have a brief presentation around what they use CRM for and the value that it brings their organization. Okay. So, customer insight. So customer insight is really all about how we display or can see the activity that is happening within the organization in a way that's manageable and meaningful for us. It's also about making sure that that data is easily accessible and that we can, at a touch of a button, go and access key information that we're able to provide to board, to stakeholders, to funding organizations. So we work with a youth organization, and they were spending a half a day a month putting together a management report for their funding organization. So we were very quickly, we were able to build a management dashboard similar to this so that we could in real time provide that management information to the funding organization. So in doing so, we were able to save half a day a month, every month, in terms of administration time and building that. But also what the funding organization was able to do was get a real-time, up-to-date picture of the key performance indicators that they had requested. Within the product we use, then you can drill down and see the detail that exists against any of the key performance indicators that are defined. All the key performance indicators will be what we would call user defined or organizational specific. So every organization will have a different requirement and different metrics. So the key benefit that a CRM can provide you with is the ease of customization and the ease of creating visual indicators to provide you with that insight to enable you to make hopefully educated decisions about the management, control, and running of your organization. Moving forward. This is probably one of the greatest drivers for CRM, and it's all about the single version of the truth. In recent time, with the past 2 years and the pandemic and the cultural change away from working in the office to either hybrid working or working from home full time, this has become more of a challenge for organizations. Who has the most up-to-date client record? Okay, who has the most up-to-date list of email addresses to communicate with our stakeholders? How quickly can we get communication out to our stakeholders? Where are the paper documents stored? Where are certain sensitive files stored? And how can we manage those from an access perspective? So CRM acts very much as glue for organizations. It's a single point whereby all information should be used, centrally stored, centrally managed, and centrally updated. And it should bring together all the very repositories of information, that be it contacts on your phone, contacts on individual Outlooks, contacts on Excel, contacts within maybe a third-party email marketing engine like MailChimp or Constant Contact, and all those other sources of information, maybe in the accounts system. Being able to bring all that information together and being able to have a single version of the truth. That enables enhanced customer experience, so that when a customer comes to you with a query, customer, client, stakeholder, volunteer, you have access to the current up-to-date information. And in doing so, that conveys professionalism of your organization. It also conveys the value that you're placing on that stakeholder, the volunteer, that the information they have provided to you is up to date. Okay. The third element is all around stakeholder engagement. Stakeholder engagement will cover a wide variety of elements. It may talk about the financials. Who are the volunteers? Who are the fundraisers? Who are the donors? What financials are they providing to you? Okay, what financial commitment have they given to you, maybe for the coming year, or maybe a 3-year period if it's a corporate donor. Being able to manage all the direct debits, being able to have visibility of all of that. Okay. Looking at your audience, being able to manage your audience, being able to very easily segment and interrogate your audience. Okay, so can I see a full list of our volunteers? Can I see a full list of our volunteers who are also donors? Can I see a full list of our volunteers who are also in receipt of our services? Okay, and that gives us a holistic picture of me as a person, that you can see very easily. Click of a button that I'm a volunteer, as well as maybe a funder, as well as in receipt of the service that you're providing. So being able to manage your audience, and segment your audience, and maintain all that information up to date and current is a key driver, a key value that a CRM solution brings. I suppose that really covers off the segmentation and profiling. But quite often, from a reporting perspective, organizations need to be able to say, well, show me the number of young people between 14 and 18 that are engaged with your services. Okay, so that's the type of profiling that a CRM can give you to give you accurate, up-to-date information so that you can provide engagement statistics. Okay. And also, it's around how we capture that data. Okay, the data capture, it could be obviously on a physical device, it could be on a mobile, it could be at a webinar or a seminar, whereby you want to try and capture data in the field. Okay, and you're able to manually record information in digital format, maybe on an iPad, and input that information directly into your CRM, and that will eliminate duplication of data entry maybe later on, rather than trying to compile it in Word format or paper format. Maybe it's also about digital enablement. So we would work with a number of youth organizations, and they want to enable what we would call self-administration or self-service of CRM, whereby they're allowing their membership to self-service, log in via a customer portal or a partner portal or a membership portal to view information, to update information, so that they have they're able to reduce administration. One of those charities that has that type of function would be the Scottish Association of Young Farmers. They would do a lot of enablement for their own members so that they can reduce the organizational administration burden by enabling their members to do a lot of self-service. So this is then looking more from an internal productivity gain. Okay, so CRM is one of those tools that will help me or can help me become more effective at my role. Okay, simple things enabling me to reach out and recontact organizations. Having somewhere centrally where I can go and store, we collectively can go and store all information relevant to a contact. Being able to search all that information rather than saying, well, can I get information from, for example, Katie, but Katie's out of the office today. So then I have to wait until tomorrow or next week when Katie's back in the office, and by which time a number of days have passed, and obviously the stakeholder that we're trying to deal with is maybe becoming disengaged with us. Okay. And that drives the organizational efficiency. As an organization, we become more engaged, we become more outward focused, because we're putting the clients that we are servicing at the center of our business. And in doing so, our organization becomes more efficient in terms of dealing with those just operational day-to-day. On the back of COVID-19, I guess we have discussed mobility, working from home, hybrid working, and having access to all the information easily, quickly, and seamlessly from wherever, be it on a mobile phone in a cafe, or be it working from home in the evenings, weekends, if need be, and not just now or as it used to be in the office. That really covers off the home working on our new normal. There's been a seismic cultural shift really over the last 2 years. If we cast our minds back to olden times, to pre-COVID, when we used to drive to the office every day and sit in front of our desks, to where we are now, which is really going to the office is optional. We are much more productive, probably doing our own roles, having had that cultural shift over the last 2 years. And also then, I've covered off that point earlier about the self-service for the clients and the stakeholders that we are engaging with. And then finally, which is the less exciting area, which is the whole area around corporate governance. GDPR has been one of the biggest drivers of this. Who has the most accurate, up-to-date information? If there is a GDPR request for freedom information coming into our organization, how easy is it, how quick is it for us to provide that information back to the stakeholder that has requested that information? How can we record that request and manage that request? How can we ensure that me, Niall, who has requested not to be in receipt of future communication, doesn't receive any communication, even if it's by accident? Okay. Corporate governance, really, that's the key drivers from a board in terms of what they want to ensure compliance within the organization, and embedding of a culture of best practice. The key performance indicators tend to be the outputs. Now, a good CRM should be flexible enough to provide you with the indicators, with the ability to create the indicators in line with whatever your organization needs. Now, we have micro-organizations, organizations with maybe one full-time member of staff and maybe a part-time. So for those organizations, time is really critical for them. So they need to have a good reporting structure in place so that they can report back to the board. And that's really where we are able to enable them to define dashboards against the key performance indicators, and that removes a burden of reporting from that key member staff so they can continue the delivery of it. I guess within the third sector, it's all about measurement. How well is my audience engaged with me? How well are those members in receipt of my service engaged with me? How can I report on that? And the next element is around this word called iteration. What we find is CRM evolves over time in line with your organizational business needs. So if you were to put in a CRM solution today, the CRM solution that you end up using in 12 months' time or 2 years' time would be very, very different to the CRM that you've actually went out and deployed today. So in doing so, you need to make sure that a CRM solution has that iteration capabilities. But it's also important that it's easy to iterate and it's low cost to iterate, Because what you don't want to do is be in a situation where you're having to go back and pay additionally for maybe software developers to do and undertake every single change. So with CRM, there are products out there which we term low code, no code CRM, that you're able to do a lot of the iteration of that CRM internally. So that reduces the total cost of ownership, and it elevates the utilization of that CRM to the organization, as well as the usability of that. If you have a new role coming in, if you have a new service that you're trying to deliver, you need to try and capture information fairly quickly on that. This iteration is really key within organizations. And obviously then, key element to that is accountability. Okay, what staff are doing what roles? Maybe more importantly, what staff are not doing what roles and what's been neglected. So what needs to be maybe captured and taken on board by others to drive. So what we've tried to do here is cover off really the 5 key drivers that CRM delivers value to within organizations. There are lots of others, but these tend to be the areas whereby they have really quick adoption, really quick benefits, and really quick value add impacts within organizations. Now, in terms of CRM itself, there are tens of thousands of CRMs within the marketplace. Okay, you can put in CRM into Google and it will provide you with something like 30,000 returns. Yeah, so one of the challenges, there's actually too many CRMs in there. So how do I go about selecting the product that's correct for my organization and it's going to be able to work with me and my organization moving forward? I don't want to have to spend all the time and effort today selecting the CRM and trying to implement it and then realize in 3 months' time or 6 months' time or 12 months' time that it hasn't been successful and have to try and do it again. So what we do here is, as a delivery partner, we work with you as an organization and we develop what's called high customer intimacy. We work with you to try and understand your business, organizational, charity, social enterprise needs. So we're able to make sure from the outset that we have an understanding of your organizational needs and what you're trying to do. Critical to the success of any deployment of any CRM is your own organizational commitment. So it will take time. It'll take time just to capture the information that you need to build your CRM. It'll also then take an effort internally to make sure that this CRM is embedded internally. It's a little bit of a, yes, we used to do things in a certain way, but now that we have CRM, we have to do things in a new, different way, okay? Hopefully that new and different way is a much better, more efficient way of doing things, both for the individual and for the organization. And it will require a cultural shift within the organization, okay? It's a matter of changing mindsets away from how we used to do it to this is the new normal, okay? Those 2 elements, the organization commitment and the cultural shifts, tend to be the key elements in terms of embedding CRM as a successful tool within the organization. Okay, for anybody to come along and try and sell software for software's sake is really neglecting those 2. Okay, it has to be driven internally from an organization perspective, and there has to be that shift away from how we used to do things to this is the new normal. Okay. In our experience, if you're working with a partner like ourselves who develops that high level of customer intimacy, that will help you with the organizational commitment, that will help you with the cultural shift or cultural change to the new way of working, we find that CRM deployments become 100% successful. Now, what do we mean, or how can we quantify 100%? Really, what we do there is we look at the organizations that we navigate through this model of high customer intimacy, high organizational commitment, cultural change, and those organizations that we work with and navigate through this journey renew their license at the end of year 1, okay, and the end of year 2. And that really reflects that CRM as a tool has been successfully embedded in the organization and is successfully adopted as part of the organization and as part of the culture of that organization. CRM deployments as a software, if you go just try and think, I want to deploy a CRM software product, the failure rate on CRM itself can be as high as 70% a year. Okay, so that means that 70% of deployments are unsuccessful. Yeah, which is a massive number, and it's a massive risk to an organization to think, well, I can do that myself. The value that we bring as an organization is really around helping you with the embedding of that CRM within the organization to ensure that it is successful on an ongoing basis. So that, I think you'll be glad to hear, brings me to the end of my my slides. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open the floor to Katie. Katie will give us a wee talk through about who Inspire are and how they, as a social enterprise and charity, use CRM and the value that it brings. And then we'll take some questions at the end. Katie.
Thank you, Niall. Good morning, everyone. I am an account manager with Inspire, and Inspire is it's a mental health charity, and Inspire Therapeutic and Wellbeing Services is a social enterprise, and we provide various mental health and wellbeing services to workplaces and also within the student population and specialist groups. We started off quite small, but we're quite a large provider of those services now. And with that brings a number of challenges. So, we of course provide lots of training around, mental health awareness for managers. We provide a lot of mild to moderate counselling interventions, as well as dealing with people that have very complex needs who require a specific intervention. We also would be the main provider for people that maybe have experienced a traumatic event. So they're services that really require a real good level of customer service, quick turnaround. And so what we found was that we really needed to work on a CRM that was able to provide that quick reactive response that our customers need. And so we've been working with Niall for 5 years now, I believe. And as Niall mentioned, it started off very small in terms of in the way in which we used Maximizer. And for ourselves, we decided to focus on the employee assistance program element of our of what we would focus on with the CRM. And so what we decided to do was move away from spreadsheets and hard copy contracts and all of those various other ways in which people tend to store information, and look at providing one sole place where everyone can access information. Now, in terms of the way in which we use Maximizer now, it is very different. But I think the key advantages for us moving to Maximizer was we were able to build it to our specific needs. So for example, if maybe we had a client call and ask a specific question around perhaps they want to find out how many counselling sessions they can access, that individual on the phone can very quickly look up that information and tell that person on the phone there and then, instead of perhaps going to someone like myself, who's an account manager, to look at a contract and then go back. So it's really improved that level of response both to customers and clients. We also have been able to capture an improved sense of oversight. So obviously we would have customers that would perhaps their staff would have access to a counselling service, but maybe we would provide various other services. Maybe we would provide some training to them as well. And for myself, it's great to be able to go into a meeting and know what else they have been, who else they've been working with within the organisation. And it really brings that level of professionalism. Another example would be, we've had many staff move on from Inspire. A recent colleague went on maternity leave and since came back. And Inspire works incredibly well with various other systems and platforms, Outlook being one of them. And so what we're able to do is record every communication with customers, with our contacts, and file them onto Maximizer, so that if someone is off, we can very quickly then pick up where we left off. So it has really helped us in terms of that aspect. And what we've done as well is now our charity have started to use Maximizer. So our fundraising team now use that. So they keep track of various organizations that would perhaps, support us in terms of improving our service offering. And so it means then that they're able to keep track of that and maybe engage with them more closely. And also in terms as well of from a business development perspective. So we would be applying on a regular basis for various funding, tender bids. And so we're able to keep track of where they are in real time. And usually there's a significant number of people involved in that process. And so it really gives a great level of accountability as to what maybe potential project is sitting with who and where that is. And that fits nicely in then with reporting too. So we're at the stage that I was almost a Maximizer champion, really. So we all received training, and then I went on more detailed training with Niall and the team. And so it meant then that if any of the staff, any of the team were having any issues, weren't maybe sure how to pull information, I had that knowledge, and we weren't always having to go back to Niall. And I'm at the stage where I actually now I can build bespoke fields, I can pull reports, and all the rest of my team are now able to do that. So it has really streamlined our service offering, and we are now looking towards implementing Maximizer and using Maximizer to look after our counsellor base, who obviously we need to make sure that they keep track and we have a record of their insurances and lots of those details in their compliance. So the service for the use of CRM has really grown and changed over the years, and that's just a few examples as to how we use Maximizer, but predominantly it's a fantastic way in which everyone has insight. A good example would be we have a member of our team specifically in charge of managing renewals. And so because it is linked to Outlook, we can quickly go in and check where that's sitting, check if they have received the renewal. And then if there maybe is a further conversation from that, we can then link in at that point. And it complements very well with our other systems that we use. Now, what I would say is it absolutely, it needs that level of senior management and that culture of changing and into a new way of working. That was a work in progress. What made it a lot easier was that we could do a global import of all of the information that we would typically need. So it does at the first instance require some time in understanding how you need the CRM to work for you. And then, as I say, importing all that data and then getting buy-in from the rest of your team. But we are definitely reaping the benefits from that now. As I said, it means that we all, especially working from home during the pandemic, it really has been incredibly beneficial to us. So that level of being able to customize it and that there are multiple users can access it is incredibly helpful. But I'm very conscious that I have been chatting for quite a long time. So now will we open the floor and offer everyone to maybe ask a question?
Yes, I think that's great. Katie, thank you very much. If you either unmute yourselves or give us a wee shout out in the chat, we can field some questions.
There's one question in the chat at the moment, maybe as a starter. So it's from Rachel at Transform Scotland, who's saying, is there a CRM system that can manage events, newsletters, and contacts? That's their kind of, I guess, their three priorities.
Sure. I can take that conversation offline with you. That's easy. So we can certainly have a conversation with that there, and I'll help you explore what's best for you. Lack of questions either indicates that you're all asleep or it was a fantastic webinar. I'm going to go with the latter.
I'd ask you a question if you want just to.
Yeah.
I suppose for a lot of social enterprises, or the vast majority of social enterprises are quite small organizations. They create, they're small businesses or
sure.
Micro businesses often. So I suppose the question with them would be about cost. It's kind of like an affordability.
Yeah.
You don't have to name specific costs or anything, but I think that's the question I would say for a lot of social enterprises.
Yeah, well, we would work with micro charities. So we would have lots of what we would call micro charities and social enterprises that maybe have one full member of staff. Now, the cost per license is £39 a month less 40% charity discount. Okay, so it provides you with, because of the charity discount for the social enterprises, yeah. So it can be a very low cost tool that will help you with the organization, your role efficiency, as well as the organizational efficiency. So the actual cost element, whilst there may be additional cost around maybe implementation or training, the actual cost on an ongoing basis is minimal, really, when you look at it at that level.
I think for us, we are quite a large organization. Over 750,000 people would have access to our EAP, for example, but we have a remarkably small team for the work that we do. And because we are part of a social enterprise like many of yourselves, we have a responsibility to ensure that our charity can continue to provide those services within the community. So cost for us was a big question. And what I find is that because there is a lot of training around how we can manage it ourselves, it has really helped to keep the cost down. And I'm able to be in the position where I can go, and if we have a team meeting and we find that maybe the CRM needs to capture something that we're not already capturing, I can go away and just build that myself. And I am by no means an IT expert at all. It's incredibly user friendly, and I have to say, working with Nell and the team, they've been incredibly patient. So I would say in terms of cost for us, it was something that we needed to consider. But as I say, we're now probably, are we 5 or 6 years now? I've lost track.
I think this is year 7.
Oh, goodness, right.
2015, I think, Inspire started working with us. Sorry, there's no question just here on the chat in terms of any tips for capturing social impact measurements. Okay, that's a difficult one to answer. I suppose really what we do is reverse engineer that. What are the outputs that you want to provide indicators with? And then what we do is work back from the output to see what information we need to capture within the system to provide you with the outputs. Okay, and that's part of that iteration process, and maybe in terms of the need to create new fields, the way to change how you capture information to make sure that's easily reported upon, but with working with a CRM deployment partner, they should be able to help you with that. So really look at the output that you want and how we'll backwards from that in terms of being able to capture the key measurements or key elements that you want to measure. Sorry, Bev here. Recording as well as external. Yes, can the CRM be used to record internal information like HR information as well as external information? Absolutely, it can. Most organizations that we utilize, that have CRM, utilize CRM, would have both information relevant to internal staff members as well as external. Now, easy way to do that is very simply just by creating what we would call security groups. So based on your access permission, you can see, so I can see information. So maybe I'm an internal person, I can only see internal HR information. Maybe an external person, and she can see only external information and can't see internal information, and that tends to be down around the security permissions and how your database is structured.
We've done that with our organization. So our fundraising team are completely separate to the services we deliver. And of course, as I mentioned, we would capture email communications, and within that there might be sensitive data around personals who are accessing interventions. And so we've been able to completely close that down, and so they can see certain information that would be useful, but we've been able to pick and choose, and we've decided what exactly needs to be seen and perhaps made private.
Yeah, so for example, they might be able to see that, I don't know, for example, Tesco's is a customer, but that's all. And they can't go down and see any additional information that relates to any of the services that Tesco's in this case, out of that, as an example, are in receipt of. But then the fundraiser can contact and develop a conversation with Tesco's to know that there's already an existing relationship there. That type of thing.
I was thinking this kind of, I suppose, an issue a lot of organizations have to deal with, which we've certainly had to deal with ourselves, is trying to find, I suppose, a truly one-stop shop for all your kind of, all your kind of needs. And I think we've got, at the moment, we're kind of going through this process as change as an organization as well. So looking at all these kind of issues, we find that, we have a kind of one-stop shop in a sense, but there's still other bits and pieces which can't be part of that. So I was thinking, like, I suppose, to what extent can you have a one-stop shop, or what extent is there going to be always, an occasional spreadsheet here and there, or an occasional, database here and there, that kind of thing? How possible is that?
The technology is mature enough and well enough advanced to enable integration with most other applications. So, for example, you can, a CRM tends to be a core database, but then you can integrate with, for example, a MailChimp, or you can integrate with, for example, a survey mechanics type application, or you can integrate with an accounts application like Xero or Sage. Okay, so the technical term is API. The data feeds should be centralized enough so that everything is all glued together. So we would have clients that would just go into CRM and they can see history of their email communications that have been managed in MailChimp. They can see the history of all the accounts that are managed in Sage by the accounts people. But as a user, they don't need to have access to the accounts, for example, Sage. They can just log in and see that. So yeah, the technology is mature enough at this stage to allow third-party integration. Now, there are elements of what we would call boxed product integration, so off-the-shelf plug-and-play integrations, as well as then bespoke integrations that we undertake.
And also to follow up on that, Niall, I think if you are starting out, it's incredibly beneficial to run it with one team and see how you get on and let it expand in time or organically. And so with that, you may then need to have a level of being able to export. So for example, our associate counsellor base, they aren't actually staff, but it's incredibly helpful for them to maybe have a list of our customers that we support. And so we can very easily export that information because they don't have access to Maximizer, or our board, for example, at our quarterly meetings may want a list of, a list of customers or whatever else they might need. And we can very quickly export that. So while you're sort of dipping your toes in and just getting started, it is quite helpful knowing that you can, whatever you put in, you can report back out of.
We're just at 12:15 just now, but I'm happy to continue if anybody else has got any further questions. Feel free to, you can come on screen if you want to and unmute if you want to just do that. If it's quicker rather than typing in the chat, feel free. Or not, as the case.
I'll provide my contact details to Duncan, and I'm sure, Duncan, you can circulate with the audience.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, if anybody does have any questions, yeah, please send to me, and I can pass on to Niall or Katie. If that's okay, that'd be great. So yeah, so if there's no further questions, we can wrap up just there. But I think that's really, really interesting. Again, it's really about the foundations of an organization. I think that we're talking about here, really about the your core infrastructure. That's what it's really all about. I think it's really important to kind of get this kind of thing right. And as I said, we are kind of going through this kind of process ourselves, which we've gone through before as well. So we have gone through this this kind of thing before, and come up with some solutions. But again, trying to find that kind of one-stop shop, I think, is the kind of dream for us in a way. So some chats with Niall as well ourselves. So, but thank you for everybody for coming along today. That's really, really useful. Really useful for social enterprises. And do remember, this is posted on our Vimeo channel. It's vimeo.com/social enterprise Scotland. And you can get the recording of this later in the week. So if there's anything you missed, you can catch up on it there as well. And we'll obviously distribute this to our members as well. So, but thank you, Niall and Katie, really, really good. And
thank
everybody,
you very much for having us and for the invitation along to speak. And Katie as well.
No problem. Thanks.
cheers.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.